What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel, the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chases. So, you know how I do. Before I get started, I want to give a shout out to all of my members who are contributors towards the Green Gorilla channel. And so, let's get that out of the way right now. Let's give them some fanfare. Yes. I'd like to give a shout out now to Ryan Jackson, Infamous Chillin', Randall, Universal 178, Black's Word 404, Rashid Barnes, Aaron Smith, The Walt Diddy Show, DH, C Truth the Revelator, Gold Professor, The Nameless Protagonist, Black Pill Ned Stark, Aaron, Odd Collard, Roderick Jackson, Dr. Tiasan Johnson, Damon Harris, Brian Williams, Camp Lowe, Nicholas Lobin, Issa Abdul Zahir, Kalanja Kala, Leroy Honeycutt, Sherrod Martin, Ricky Dawson, NEU, Cedric Bowman, True 7360, BK Born Shahid, James Washington, Hostile Adept, Seven Coast Dojo, Ronan Martin Live, Roland Martin, Shop Talk Live, WPR1, Roguish the Billmonger, I Care, Force Windu, Lady Miss Thing Green, BGS Ibmore, and Marvin Battle Jr. Thank you so much for being members of the Green Gorilla channel. Thank you for becoming members of the Green Gorilla channel. I really appreciate all the help that you provide. And it is inspirational, and it helps towards making the channel a better experience for you guys. So thank you all. Before I proceed, also what I'd like to do is to shout out some people out there in the chat. I see I got DH in the house, Force Windu, Universal 178. Hey Crimson, how you doing, Miss Thing? I got Force Windu in here again. Like I said, Rashid Barnes. And Sherrod Martin, thank you so much, my brother, for the kind donation that you have provided. I appreciate that. And so let me hit you up with a cha-ching. Thank you, sir, for your contribution. I really appreciate that. And I'm going to go ahead and get things started. But before I do, though, I almost forgot. You, too, can become a member of the Green Gorilla channel, and here's how. What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD. And you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel, the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chaser. Today, I want to introduce you to my new membership program that consists of 5 levels where you can invest in the Green Gorilla channel on a monthly basis and receive level-specific perks. Memberships are special because they improve the quality of the content of the channel and will help me to be able to keep the channel going. Now, to participate in the Green Gorilla channel membership program, all you have to do is hit the join button, which is located right next to the subscribe button on my channel page. Now, for all of my subscribers who decide not to participate in my membership program, nothing will change. The content will keep coming the way it always has. Thanks for watching, and be careful out here, people. Bless. Yes, so that's how you can become a member of the Green Gorilla channel. Memberships are special, and thank you, members, for your contributions and for your memberships. I see Dr. Tiasan Johnson is in the house. What's up, bruh? How you doing, dog? Well, also, I have a special guest, chilling in the background. I'm going to bring him to the foreground. Let me give this man some fanfare and a round of applause for his willingness to come here and talk to us tonight. So let's get it started. Brother Ronald Neal, man, how you doing tonight, bro?
I'm doing well, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm just, chilling.
Good.
Taking a load off, doing this show.
I hear you. Good to be back with you one more again.
One more again, man. So I got a special guest, man. Didn't even know it, So we got Dr. Johnson in, man. You know, give him a shout out if you can.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dr. J, what's going on?
Hey, look, we also want y'all to be aware of the fact that Brother Ronald Neal has a YouTube channel, man. He's spitting straight fire on that channel. You know.
Yes, sir. Ronald Neal. Just go to Ronald Neal. That's it.
Say go to Ronald Neal. That's it, huh? Yeah, man. Today we're gonna talk about a topic, bruh, called "The Personal is Political," and I'm pretty sure you've heard of this concept before. I mean, you're an academician, so I'm pretty sure you've heard this over and over
Oh
and
yeah. Oh
over
yeah.
again. All right. So what does it mean to you, man? Like this idea, this concept, the personal is political.
Well, of course, man. That's one of the mantras of second wave feminism. That has been hammered into the brains of educated people and everyone else for the past 50 years. From how I understood it, I remember hearing it when I was an undergraduate. um, and it meant, or rather, it related to one's personal life. What happens to you in your private affairs? What happens to you in the most intimate aspect of your experience? That is political, and so just think about this, man. I mean, when you think about feminists and what they talk about the most, I mean, it's typically around the body. It's typically having to do with sex or violence to the body. So on one hand, you have your feminists who talk about rape culture, and talk about the sexual violence, and then on the other hand, you have the feminists who talk about domestic violence. And so for them, those things are very intimate. Those are very personal. But also, just in the whole realm of the private sphere, man, and what you do with your body, so sex and sex positivism and, my body, my choice. I can sleep with whoever I want to. I can do whatever I want to with my body. Have a baby, discard a baby, you name it. So I think that feminism has done a real serious job in, articulating that idea of the personal, and to limit it. Here's the thing, and to kind of limit it exclusively to women, you know, and so that's kind of I guess for me, how I came to understand it initially.
Right. So today what I want to do is, so I have an article that I want to read. It's not very long at all. It might take 10 minutes for me to get through, but I want you to look at it with me and to chime in at any point that you feel like you want to offer some commentary, or where
Uh-huh.
you think that the the reasoning within it
Okay.
might be a little bit off. But it is called "The Person Who Is Political" because the
Okay.
woman who created it,
Okay.
the concept is named Carol Hanisch.
Okay.
Okay, and the article was written in 1969,
Mm-hmm.
and again, she coined this phrase, and it's been part and parcel of second wave feminism ever since.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, my view is you got to think about this. And before I even start reading it, if the personal is political for women,
Mm-hmm.
why would not the personal be political for men just as well?
Mm-hmm.
Because, the assumption is that women are a class of persons who are oppressed by men, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have a set of experiences that are universal to them, but it just glosses over and neglects in a whole scale fashion that there are experiences unique to men, and that
Mm-hmm.
there are various ways in which men are personally subjected to all kinds of malevolence by
Mm-hmm.
women. And that just gets overlooked. It gets glossed over as if it doesn't happen at all.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
that's what kind of infuriates me about this kind of politics. Okay. whereby you abstract away from and or you kind of move away from any kind of context and you just posit that there's a set of universal experiences for one group of persons and they're negative, and that men, all together as a class or as a group enjoy a set of unique benefits and privileges, and whatever malevolence that they're subjected to needs to be overlooked, glossed over, ignored for the sake of this newly created class that comes out of second wave, or that emerges out of second wave feminism. Okay, so let me share the screen with you now.
Okay.
Go to this Chrome tab, and the personal is political. There it is. I think you can see it. I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
All right, now it's about as large as I can get it at the current moment.
Got it.
All right, so again, this whole concept is coined by Hanisch, okay, a feminist activist who worked with various groups directly after the civil rights movement. So she was a member of the civil rights movement, but it's funny though, historically, how directly after the civil rights movement, women as a group began to usher in the women's liberation movement, which in a de facto way kind of wipes out a whole host of gains that black men were expecting. We all of a sudden, we thought that we had climbed the mountain. Like we had attained the dream that Martin Luther King Jr. and all of the other people in SNCC and the Southern Christian Leadership Council, that they thought they had attained. We thought we had arrived. And then all of a sudden, you get a whole bunch of angry white women who declare themselves as members of an oppressed group, and that they are here now to smash the patriarchy, right? So, at any rate, she's one of those women who helped to usher in this movement, and apparently she was very influential. And this article had begun to gain a lot of acclaim, and it became circulated widely within the women's liberation movement, which is, what we call second wave feminism. All right, so let me just start reading it, man. And I'm going to interrupt my reading when you chime in or when I have something to say. Okay?
Right.
So she says, for this paper, I want to stick pretty close to an aspect of the left debate commonly talked about, namely therapy versus therapy and politics. Another name for it is personal versus political, and it has other names, I suspect, as it has developed across the country. I haven't gotten over to visit the New Orleans group yet, but I have been participating in groups in New York and Gainesville for more than a year. Both of these groups have been called therapy and personal groups by women who consider themselves more political. So I must speak about so-called therapy groups from my own experience. So what you see there is this distinction she's making between a group of women who are coming together to kind of talk about their personal experiences versus a group of women who, I guess, consider just sitting and talking not to be of much import, maybe a little bit of a waste of time, right? In comparison to getting out there and being mobile and acting, right? But you see the same kind of things in the manosphere. You see the same kind of arguments being made, just in case you don't know, okay? So moving forward. Then she goes on to say, the very word therapy is obviously a misnomer if carried to its logical conclusion. Therapy assumes that someone is sick and that there is a cure, for example, a personal solution. I am greatly offended that I or any other woman is thought to need therapy in the first place. Women are messed over, not messed up. We need to change the objective conditions, not adjust to them. Therapy is adjusting to your bad personal alternative. Now, right there, man, I take pause with this, right? Just look, man. I'm not saying all women are messed up, okay? But I mean, the very idea being promoted here is that all men in some way are fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You got to excuse my French, Doc, but you know I
Yeah,
curse, man.
I,
I
I, I
cuss and raise
guess
the
I
fuss
know,
on
I
to bring
know,
the realer
I
to it.
know, I know,
You know what
I
I'm
know,
saying? So,
I know. And then let me just insert here. So from what I'm seeing happening here, so she's getting ready to go Freudian here. That is to Freud had very negative views of women, and the feminists were real gung ho and critiquing psychoanalysis and everything. He was the one who said that women were hysterical and all of that. And so I see right now is that you've got this critique of psychoanalysis therapy, at least from what it appears to be right now, but also this move to politicize these kind of psycho non-structural issues. So in contrast to, so this is 1969. We're talking about in 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. is assassinated. He's assassinated, on the heels of a poor people's movement dealing with structural issues, economic injustice. You have the larger issue with the Vietnam War and everything, and anti-imperialism. And so now we see the feminists begin, the white, middle class, educated women, they begin to make this shift away from these large structural concerns to these more personal matters, which become political. So I see this as part of that shift, and this is gonna carry into the 70s and in the 80s, and you'll see a whole bunch of psychobabble that becomes a part of everything that they do in the second wave, because they don't want to deal with class and they don't want to deal with race. Okay, and so their victimization is rooted in all this psychological stuff.
but you know what's funny about it though? So I got to give you dings for each one of those points, right? Because you're exactly right. This is all coming on the heels of the civil rights movement, when it reached its apex, and or right after it, and when Martin Luther King Jr., as you said, had begun to
Mm-hmm.
issue the Poor People's Campaign, and so what you see is a shift away
Mm-hmm.
from racial issues to
Mm-hmm.
now personal issues,
Mm-hmm.
which they're going to turn into structural issues.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like a magic trick of a kind,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about the same class of persons
Yeah.
who had been involved
Mm-hmm.
in colonialism, the same group of people who had been involved in slavery,
Mm-hmm.
and we got receipts. These women were
Mm-hmm.
slave owners, many of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, women who were segregationists,
Mm-hmm.
many of them, right? Women
Mm-hmm.
who were participants in lynchings,
Mm-hmm.
women who spat on people, young black people trying to integrate the segregated school systems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, all of a sudden, the shift is away from all of the baggage in the country related to that kind of goings on. And now
Mm-hmm.
we need to focus on what's happening with women inside of the home,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or what's going on in their personal lives.
Mm-hmm.
Now, look, that's a hell of a that's a sorcery trick to me, man.
Witchcraft.
Hey, man, that's witchcraft right there, brother. I see it as that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like what Bill Burr talked about in the Saturday Night Live dialogue. It's like, hold on, wait a minute. How is it that you swing your Gucci boots?
Uh-oh.
These are educated, highly educated women,
Mm-hmm.
right? And all of a sudden, in a narcissistic ploy, they
Mm-hmm.
make everything about them. It's no longer about black people as a whole. It's
Mm-hmm.
about white women now.
There you go.
It's about white women now. And it just befuddles my brain how these privileged women, because you hear the things that they complain about,
Uh-huh.
right? These privileged women
Yep.
who have everything that they really need materially, want
Mm-hmm.
to form a break with white men. So
Mm-hmm.
they say. And it's not all white women, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
nice amount of white women, right?
Oh yeah.
Who make the claim that them being connected to a man in a mononuclear family
Mm-hmm.
is oppressive in the
Mm-hmm.
same way that racism was oppressive to black people.
Mm-hmm.
So sexism becomes the new racism.
There you go.
But I'm just trying to figure out how, you know, child rearing turns into lynching.
Mm-hmm.
or how, a man making money and not giving a woman everything she wants in
Mm-hmm.
connection with money, how it
Mm-hmm.
turns into slavery.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
You
just
know,
I'm wondering.
man, you talking about white women's problems, man.
But the
Why?
funny but the bad thing about it, Ron, is white women's problems become black women's
There
problems
you
by
go.
fiat. And it's funny though, because here's the deal. Black women have always worked.
Mm-hmm.
They worked on the plantation. They worked inside of the master's house doing whatever kind of work the master
Mm-hmm.
made her do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
So, I mean, the very notion, that, and black women know this, man. I mean, these black feminists had to have some understanding, right? Related to
Mm-hmm.
the concept that
Yep.
black women's situation was much more different in kind than
Of
that of
course.
white women.
Of course.
But for some reason, they make these women's struggle their own. And they
Mm-hmm.
label black men as sexist, rapist, abusers.
Oh my God.
Whereas, you know, white
Mm-hmm.
women do the same thing to their men. But white men in general, I mean, they have control over government.
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
control
Yeah.
over commerce. They have control over the entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm.
They have
Mm-hmm.
control over the school system. They have
Mm-hmm.
control over a whole host of systems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It,
And I think it's also important to note that the women, the kind of black women who gravitated towards this, so you're talking about middle class, black women, women whose parents were college educated, might have been, professionals or what have you. I mean, they're not the same type of middle class people as white people. You know what I mean? Back then, 1969. There wasn't, radical differences between, black middle class people and working class black people. But we had our bourgeoisie, and so people like Michelle Wallace and hell, even Angela Davis, man. Angela Davis, man, she grew up in Birmingham. I mean, she was a special child, man. Her parents were educated. She went to Brandeis. She was she was privileged for, to be a young black person. Even though she didn't call herself a feminist to much later in her adulthood, but she was the kind of person that was attracted to that movement. And yeah, so they were not your working class, lower middle class black women. These were the ones who were, the racial hypergamous types that you
right,
talk
right.
about.
I see you using the term.
There you go.
But but just going over this paragraph again, not the entirety of it, but just a segment of it, where she says, "I'm greatly offended that I or any other woman is thought to need therapy in the first place." And again, you're drawing a connection between uh, this claim and Freudism or psychoanalysis, and
Mm-hmm.
how Freud was a sexist and he didn't think very highly of women.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the persons who came up with the idea that women are hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but the next sentence is shocking to me, because what it does is it makes women unaccountable for any malevolence, any bad faith action, any perniciousness altogether. Women are messed over, not messed up. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you got to think about this. Nobody in the manosphere the black manosphere would dare say that there are not black men who are not messed up.
Yeah.
There are black men who are fucked up. Okay, and we know this, okay? And we are willing to admit that. But it just seems to me on a whole scale fashion, I have yet to see a large amount of feminists, whether they be white, black, whatever, LGBTQ feminists, whatever kind you want to, bring up. Very rarely do you hear them talk about the perniciousness of any class of women whatsoever. It's always a kind of definition of the position of women as being a victim, never as a perpetrator of violence or a perpetrator of deceit, a perpetrator of deception, nothing. Of manipulation, coercion. You never in any domain have I heard this come out of their mouths. And so it's fascinating, man. It's just fascinating that these women don't own up to any perniciousness on the part of women as a whole. So anyway, let me just move through the next paragraph, right? She says we need to change our objective conditions. So in other words, we need to change society and create new structures and not deal with anything other than the ideal that women are somehow left at a disadvantage because of the personal patriarchy that men exact over women's lives. Okay. So she says in the next paragraph, we have not done much trying to solve immediate personal problems of women in the group. We've mostly picked topics by two methods. In a small group, it is possible for us to take turns bringing questions to the meeting, like, which did you prefer? A girl or a boy baby or no children? And why? What happens to your relationship if your man makes more money than you, less than you? Then we go around the room answering the questions from our personal experiences. Everybody talks that way. At the end of the meeting, we try to sum up and generalize from what's been said and make connections. Okay, now what do you think about that paragraph?
Man, this is a privileged conversation, bro. I mean, really, man. I mean, this is, what's the reverse of this, man? If you are materially deprived, you're not. If you're, I would think, and I can't speak for women. You're more concerned with, how you're going to feed your child, how you're going to, clothe the child or what have you, over against, what gender you preferred, what you wanted. You know what I mean? Or, these questions about men and money and income and everything like that. Hell, if a man works at all, period, you're in a pretty decent position. So I mean, I kind of see these questions within the, I don't like using the word privilege, but that's what it is. It's within the context of, having a privileged discourse,
Now, let me just say this, man. White women as a class of persons, man, prior to the women's liberation movement, in comparison to black men through the entirety of their existence in the United States, are privileged as far as I'm concerned. Like, I'm just thinking of like Betty Friedan's book, The Feminine Mystique. And what she did was she compared her condition to living in a comfortable concentration camp. I mean, here's a woman who had all of the accoutrements that came along with being a upper middle class white woman. And for some reason, I mean, whatever the case may be, she considered her condition to be akin to that of someone living in a comfortable concentration camp. I mean, and look, this shit is just crazy to me because recently, right, we got some look into the childhood of Alicia Garza. And at 8 years of age, this young woman young girl who was to become one of the founding members of Black Lives Matter, formed an aversion to the power of her father because her father made her make him coffee.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was the point at which she knew she wanted to fight against the patriarchy.
Yeah, that's white girl shit, man. You know.
Hey man, look, let me keep it 100, man. Do I need to talk about the various ways that my mother made me do shit around the house and do shit for her personally?
I told you that's middle class white girl shit, man. You know.
I'm just saying, man. My mother made me do shit like go to the car, go buy me a pack of cigarettes, because back then kids could buy cigarettes. Man, I had to walk 15 minutes 2 ways, so it took me 30 minutes to go to the store to get her some cigarettes. Anytime, and she smoked damn near a pack a day, and I had to go buy. Go buy me some cigarettes. Okay, well, shit. What am I supposed to say? No.
Shit, I had to buy sanitary pads and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? What you know?
Man, my OG man made me mix chocolate chip cookies, man, every week from scratch, bruh.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? Like Lehman, I still know how to do it, man. Yeah. And I'm saying my real name, but the whole point, look, you got the flour, you got the sugar, the white sugar, you got the brown sugar, you got the 2 eggs you got to put in there. You know what I'm saying? You got the vanilla extract, the baking, the little half a teaspoon of salt you got to put in there. I remember all that shit, man. Just from having to do it over and over and over. 2 sticks of butter.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? I remember that, man. And go in my purse and go look for, like, what the fuck you got your son going in your purse for? I'm just saying, like, I do this, do that, do that, do this. This is something that's not just unique to women.
Bro, my mother, I learned how to drive a car at 11 years of age. My mother taught me to drive the car for the sole purpose of me doing errands, going to the store, buying stuff, because she didn't want to go. Okay? I'm driving 11 years old. My mom, she's deceased now. She's deceased now. And I don't regret. I mean, I learned a lot. I was glad I learned, you know, at that age. You know what I mean? But I did the shopping.
Right.
You see, I was a little laborer. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I never equated that with some type of oppression.
Neither did I. Like I thought it was just being a child growing up, and that you got to do what your mother says. That's all I took it as. I never in my life construed the various things that I had to do, man. Look, I was the only kid, man. So I had to wash the dishes. Man, I remember one day, okay, let me tell you how I learned how to wash dishes, right? So I went to New Orleans, right? For summer, most summers, okay? So here I am in New Orleans, and my uncle got this bright idea, like, okay, well, this nigga can eat. So if he can eat, he need to know how to wash dishes. So he went about teaching me how to wash dishes, and so he taught, okay? Mm-hmm. And so that was my job in the house. Now, this man had 6 girls.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna say what the names are, but the first one start with the first name start with a G, and all the other ones start with a K. Okay? Mm-hmm. God bless the man. You know, I loved him. He was like my father, even though he was my uncle. Okay? Mm-hmm. So the next thing you know, he's on the phone with my mother, his sister, bragging about how good I know how to wash dishes. And I had to be like about 9 years old. So at that point, I was appointed a dishwasher until I became damn near an adult, till I went to college, man.
Set you up.
I'm talking about from 9 to 18, bro.
I hear you.
Every night, bro. Wasn't no dishwashers, man, when I first, wasn't no dishwashers, bro.
I hear you.
You know, like, and back then, man, they cooked on them die-cast skillets, bro. There wasn't no Teflon, man. You know what I'm saying? You got to get the Brillo pads out, man, the steel wool, and get down to it, bro. You know what I'm saying? But I never conceived myself as being oppressed on account of the work that I had to do in the household.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Go
I
get this
know.
for me. Go get that for me. Go do this. So it's
Yeah.
this privilege, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So let me move on, man. So, but another thing I want to say about this paragraph, though, before I move on from it. Now, I teach the philosophy of science, man, and so
Mm-hmm.
I know what methodology ought to be used
Mm-hmm.
empirically in order to draw a generalization from particulars.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, this is a group of women
Mm-hmm.
who are having conversations about their experiences. They're not including the experiences of men, trying to see what they see from their angle or their perspective at all. It's
Mm-hmm.
all women. And they've
Mm-hmm.
already decided that in some way or the other, they are oppressed. But what they're doing is extracting data and using the data in order to confirm their hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going after this and testing their hypotheses against
Mm-hmm.
other data sets.
Mm-hmm.
They're just trying to confirm their own hypotheses.
Mm-hmm.
That in and of itself, and this is a common method used by feminists, man. And it's just a fucked up methodology. I'm here to say it, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to tell the truth about it,
Mm-hmm.
right? I see this whole political paradigm as being one humongous grab at trying to rationalize confirmation bias.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just my perspective, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, moving to the next paragraph. I believe at this point, and maybe for a long time to come, that these analytical sessions, they call them analytical sessions, are a form of political action. So just talking about their problems, their personal problems, is political action to them.
Yeah. It's redefining the political. Mm-hmm.
Now, for anybody that doesn't know, just so you do know, politics itself is derived from the Greek word polis, which is a reference to a Greek city-state. Okay? Now, Athens was one such city-state. Sparta was another. Lesbos, another. Milos, another. Okay, so what the men would do, now these people had true patriarchies, okay? No doubt about it. They did, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And they would go to the agora, right? And they would have conversations with one another about the affairs of the city-state, and they called it politics. That's what they did. But the one thing about their political musings, as opposed to the kind of political musings that take place today, their musings about politics was about the general good for the city-state and not what was just good for themselves. Right?
Yeah.
Now, let me just say this. Politics has to adapt as far as I'm concerned. And let me just put this out here on the table right now. If you have a group of people in a nation and the thing that they do in relation to politics the most is look after their own self-interest, then you'll be a goddamn fool if you don't look after your own interest as well.
There you go.
Because your interest will never get registered in the public sphere and be able to influence politicians or society at large if you don't say anything.
Nope.
But they want you to be quiet.
Yep.
They want you to say nothing. Go along to get along.
There you go.
And this has been done for far too long. Black men have been silent for a long time. So much so that men are afraid to speak now.
Too long, brother. Been silent too long.
Brother Neal, man.
It's normalized.
How in the fuck can men be silent? Like I just don't get this, man.
No. Not at this moment that we're speaking. It's insane. It's insane to be silent. You know.
It's ridiculous.
It's completely insane.
So let me push forward though, because I don't want to stay stuck here, right? So they say, again, let me start over at the beginning. I believe at this point, and maybe for a long time to come, that these analytical sessions are a form of political action.
Mhm.
I do not go to these sessions because I need or want to talk about my personal problems. In fact, I would rather not. As a movement woman, I've been pressured to be strong, selfless, other oriented, sacrificing, and in general, pretty much in control of my own life. To admit to problems in my life is to be deemed weak. So I want to be a strong woman in movement terms and not admit I have any real problems that I can't find a personal solution to, except those directly related to the capitalist system. It is at this point a political action to tell it like it is, to say what I really believe about my life instead of what I've always been told to say.
Mm.
Man,
All right, talk about narcissism,
man, when I first read
um,
this, bro,
self-involvement. Mm-hmm.
the first thing I thought was what you just said, narcissism.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And but the other thing I told myself as I read it, how contradictory is this shit?
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, you really ain't got no problems. Not for
Mm-hmm.
real. You just really, to me, you exposing. It's like a Freudian slip if you want to use Freudian
Yeah.
language. You
Yep.
really ain't got no damn problems for real.
Yeah.
You're a white woman. You probably come from a family that has resources and means.
Yep.
You're obviously educated.
Mm-hmm.
You obviously know how to put ideas together in the written form, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that in and of itself gives you a kind of privilege and an understanding about the world that others don't have. Because everyone can't write like this, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So even you and I are privileged in that regard,
Yep.
okay?
Yep.
But let me say this. How is it that this woman can be so damn strong, selfless, other oriented, and sacrificing, but she can't be that way to a goddamn man? But she can be all that shit for the women in this movement. I don't understand how that's
Mm-hmm.
consistent in act and speech. I just don't get it, bruh. Do you understand where I'm coming from when I say
No,
that?
I get you. Unless we're talking about a closet lesbian. I mean, you have that. I mean, you're 1969. Some of these folks are closet lesbians, and they hid behind marriage and everything, and so and they might have had down low relationships with women, you know, and I suspect that they did, and so you can read that in this way. It's like I really don't want to be strong, and sacrificial and selfless in relationship to this man, but I can be this way, toward this woman or this group of women, you know, and so you might have some of that in the background, 1969,
Yeah,
before they all start coming out the closet.
right, right. I'll grant you that. But another thing that's funny about this, right, is that these women in second wave feminism, right,
Uh-huh.
they were these staunch opponents of capitalism. I mean,
Hmm.
they were the new Marxists, so to
Hmm.
speak. I mean, and I think that they modeled their Marxism after the Marxism of black people in the Black Power and liberation movements and
Hmm.
black people in the civil rights movement. A lot of these people were card carrying Marxists, okay?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
um, so they adopt the language of the civil rights movement and the Black Power movements in
Hmm.
a lot of respects. But
Hmm.
what happened to that shit? Like what happened?
Yeah.
Because it
Yeah.
seems like all this class talk
Yeah.
that's eradicated at the current moment. I don't hear any of these
Yeah.
people
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
class talk.
Yeah. I mean, at the early stages, yeah. At that point, you had your socialist. They called them socialist feminists, or, Marxist feminists. But they were eclipsed by the bourgeois feminists. You think about again Steinem. Steinem was far from a Marxist feminist or a socialist feminist. She is your run of the mill bourgeois feminist. And she represented the kind of takeover. And yeah, and then I think you have to think about it. Within white society, man, it's kind of hard for them to maintain a socialist position and to also simultaneously sustain themselves or have any currency in the culture. So these are women who come in from middle class homes and everything. You can imagine, Hillary Clinton, who was very conservative, Methodist background and all that. But at the time that this was written, and trying to experiment with something like Marxist feminism, that doesn't last long, bro.
Let's
It
say
doesn't.
this. I'm gonna tell you how it don't last long, especially when you start making over 100 G's,
Yeah,
or back
yeah,
then making over 50 G's,
yeah,
or actually making over 30 G's.
yeah.
I mean, you rolling in the dough, so then your perspective changes. Then it
Mm-hmm,
becomes
mm-hmm,
about the work the wage gap. So now
mm-hmm.
you're not talking about changing a system such that everybody is afforded the opportunity
Uh-uh.
to have their subsistence needs met. Now you're
No.
talking about, well, I want to be able to have the same amount of money that the wealthiest men
Uh-huh.
make,
Uh-huh.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes less a concern about making sure that everybody, including men, whoever they may be, have the
Mm-hmm.
same material needs taken care of. It just becomes, well, I want what the wealthiest men have. I
Mm-hmm.
want what they got.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is who was her? Her name is you might be familiar with Nancy Fraser.
Yes, yes.
She's a feminist philosopher on the left, and she's a Marxist type person. Although she wouldn't call herself a Marxist, but class is a very big piece of her work. And she's one of the few. She's one of the few kind of old school second wave people who is consistent, with the class analysis. But she was like, a prophet in the wilderness.
Right, right. And look, at least I can respect to some degree the radical class conscious feminists. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm, mhm,
But here's the funny thing about this, man. Even though these women, like say for example, Nancy Fraser, I believe that woman is married.
mhm.
And look, I've met Nancy Fraser. Okay,
Okay.
I met a whole host of feminist women.
Mhm,
You
mhm,
know what I'm
mhm,
saying? A lot
mhm.
of these women are married.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, go home to husbands,
yeah, yeah,
to patriarchs.
yeah,
So I mean, they talk this shit in
yeah,
this, especially like you got to understand too. This was a movement filled with young women, man.
yeah.
Recently, college educated or graduates, recent college graduates. A lot of times, when you're younger, you think more radically, and the older
Uh-huh.
you get, the more
Yeah.
conservative you become.
There you go.
You
Again,
know,
I mean, this is, I mean, Hillary Clinton. I mean, she is your kind of paradigm, and um, bourgeois type feminist, and you play with that radical stuff for a minute, and um, and then you move on, and you just become a. She's like, with her, she just became your quintessential liberal imperial feminist.
say the imperial feminists.
Yeah.
And what's wild about it is these women have no problem taking over the reins of American government.
Mm-mm.
And we all know the kind of atrocities that America perpetrates on people in other countries around the
Oh,
world
oh yeah.
in the
Oh
name of
yeah.
American imperialism.
Oh yeah.
But we don't want to have that discussion right
No,
now.
no, no. Secretary of State. She was Secretary of State.
Man, she was dropping bombs, bruh. Don't think she wasn't dropping bombs, man.
Yes, she was.
Dropping drones,
Ah.
killing women and children, mothers and fathers and
Oh
babies.
man, man.
I'm I'm just, hey, let's just keep it real.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And few people publicly, called her out on that. Cornel West, he's called her out on it. But you don't have, not her ilk. Not no women, not too many feminists call them out on that type of stuff, man.
Well,
Mm-mm.
see, look. They don't call out anything on women at all.
Mm,
The only thing they do is just talk about how women are oppressed and dominated,
mm,
subjected to
mm,
violence and powerlessness, how they're marginalized, rendered invisible, and those are the only narratives that they have about women.
mm,
They never admit to the wrongdoing of women, but I mentioned that already earlier. I don't want to digress too far away
mm,
from that.
mm.
All right, so I'm gonna give y'all a break for a minute. I'm gonna go to a quick break, and then when we come back, we're gonna do some more chopping it up with Dr. Ronald Neal. We'll be back in about 30 seconds. So we are back. I'm the G with a PhD. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel, the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chaser. So if you got virgin ears and if you don't like to hear a lot of hooping and hollering from me, because I'm profane and a whole host of other things, I admit it. I'm toxic.
There you go.
So it is what it is. If you don't want to hear that kind of stuff, if you don't want to hear black men speak directly and openly, this is not the place for you. I would suggest that you click off and you go elsewhere. That's just what it is. I make no mistakes about it. Okay,
There you go.
and I'm joined here tonight with Dr. Ronald Neal, and we're having a conversation about the personal being political. In particular, right now, what we're doing is we're reading through a text or an article written by a woman named Carol Hanisch, who coined the phrase, the personal is political, is continuously used in popular parlance by feminists. It's become a catchphrase, if you will, that people use in intersectional feminism, because that's the stage at which we're at right now. Third and fourth wave feminism. Okay, so and even moving into the fifth wave. But I don't want to get too fine tuned to start hair splitting right now. But having said that, man, I kind of want to dive back into the article and look. If you can, please make a donation. If you can, please make a donation to the Green Gorilla channel. Like I said, you know, um, be a good patron, make a donation. It's a simple solution. Make a contribution. You know what I'm saying? So no need for heavy lifting, just a little bit of gifting. And if you like the show, the evidence will show in your benevolence. That's what I got to say about it. I know it's the end of the month, though. So having said all that, hit the like button, man. If you like what you are hearing here. If you don't like it, hit the thumbs down button. Whatever come up, what may. And if you like when I go live, go ahead and hit the button that says subscribe. So that's a little petty rhyme in there. So anyway, let's get back into this, man. So in the next paragraph of this article, she says, so the reason I participate in these meetings is not to solve any personal problem. One of the first things we discover in these groups is that personal problems are political problems. There are no personal solutions at this time. There is only collective action for a collective solution. I went and continue to go to these meetings because I have gotten a political understanding, which all my reading, all my political discussions, all my political action, all my 4 odd years in the movement never gave me. I've been forced to take off the rose-colored glasses and face the awful truth about how grim my life really is as a woman. I am getting a gut understanding of everything as opposed to the esoteric intellectual understandings and noblesse oblige feelings I had in other people's struggles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-mm-mm-mm.
Man, let me just, this is how I understand what she's saying here.
Wow.
She was a member of the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
The other people's struggles.
Mm-mm.
That's a hellified thing to say, bro.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
as opposed to the esoteric intellectual understandings and noblesse oblige feelings I had in other people's struggles. What kind of shit is that, man?
Yeah, man. It's clear. She has to find. She couldn't find any oppression in her life. This is what I'm reading. That's tantamount to anything that Black people were going through, and I'm sure that she was overwhelmed with the sense that these Black people have it real hard. I'm a white person, and like a lot of white people during that time, I'm sure she was, she was afflicted with white guilt, and that white guilt made her feel some kind of way, and made her feel like she was an oppressor. But maybe she didn't want to own up to the fact that she was a part of the oppressors class. And so now she needs to kind of, separate herself and, locate her own sources of oppression. And so it looks like the personal is where she identifies all of this oppression.
Hey, look, before you move forward, I got to give you the bomb. You know what I'm saying? You just dropped a whole bunch of bombs. I feel like Funkmaster Flex in this motherfucker. It's Ronald Neal coming with that heat. Man, hey, I'm so glad you're here tonight. That brother Ronald Neal is telling it how it is. Hey, man, I had to do it, man. You get what I'm saying, man?
Yeah.
I had to get to it, man. Look, before I move forward, though, I want to give a shout out to Rashid Barnes. Thank you so much for the donation, sir. I want to give a shout out to Forrest Windu. Thank you so much for the donation, sir. I appreciate it. I also want to give a shout out to Mr. Meach. Thank you for your donation, sir. I really want to give you a shout out. And also, I want to give a shout out to, if I'm not mistaken, further up here, my Man Friday made a donation, £5, because he's a British chap. How's it going there, man? Isn't it? What's going on up there? Is it cold there? Isn't it? So I'm fucking with Man Friday now, but yo. So anyway, man, I think you hit the nail on the head there, bro.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a thing, man, to all of a sudden go from working. Now, look, we talking about people, man.
Yeah.
Who have been subjected to 200 plus years of having literal chains.
Yep.
On their necks.
Yep.
On their wrists and on their feet. Who arbitrarily can be subjected to the whip, lashings. People who could be bought and sold, split apart from their families.
Yep.
We're talking about people who had no more social standing than chickens.
No.
Or cows.
No.
Or sheep. Or horses.
Yep.
We're talking about people who at any moment in time can be subjected to violence.
Yep.
Sexual assault. And then after that, we are talking about a group of people who were subjected after the Civil War to the black codes, where just living and being black would be an infraction, anywhere from vagrancy to, walking on the train tracks would incur a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And you would be
Mm-hmm.
subjected to the chain gang. We're talking about Jim Crow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then
Lynchings.
all of a sudden, all white women become oppressed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Man, what
And,
in the fuck? What
and
is that, man?
and man, you think about it. So 1969. I mean, you're barely over a century removed from slavery, barely. And to be honest with you, I mean, yeah, Jim Crow and all that. I mean, if you want to be, serious, I mean, so my mom was born in 1942, and she's in at that particular time. My mom is she's in her late 20s. All right, and so you're talking about black folks who are just coming out of hell, the legacy of slavery. You still did in 1969, black folks, if you were coming of age, if you were in your 20s, in that year, the feel, the weight of slavery was still on your life. Because you still had hell, you had grandparents. There were older people in your family who were close to that experience. You know what I mean? And so, to have this middle class person, upper middle class person, step in the fray and basically usurp, all the energy and all the wind from the civil rights movement, just so that their personal problems could get center stage. It's totally offensive.
It's absolutely, especially to black men. And this shit is still offensive to us.
Yeah, yeah.
And we don't, and look, black women who are feminists have increasingly created a communicative situation in which black men dare not make the claim that this shit is narcissism in relation to what black men have gone through in this here United States.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's almost as if there's a whole host of black women who are feminists who are willing to allow this kind of narcissism to come to center stage because they're able to, kind of share in the boons associated with this kind of social, social and political musing, right, or complaining. They're able to share in the boons of this kind of talk, this conversation, this discourse, these narratives.
Yeah.
So black men can't even say how ridiculous it is after having been subjected to the most brutalizing kind
Yeah.
of human debasement.
Oh yeah.
To have to take a backstage to women who we know have been full participants,
Full blown.
fully complicit in this debauchery, this injustice. We have to now just be quiet, because if not, then we're mansplaining.
Yeah, and they have imbibed all of it. The black feminists, the black middle class women, they've just totally internalized all this stuff. They made it their own, as though they're like honorary white women, and
Hold
and
on,
that's
bro. Wait. Did you just say what I thought you said?
I said honorary white women.
Hey, Doc, man, I gotta give you another one, bro. I mean, because that's what this is to me.
Yeah.
It's like you get to share the experience of white womanness, white womanhood, by making your struggle the same as that of a white woman. And look, to be perfectly honest, I think that this is a means by which to control black people.
Yeah.
To keep them quiet, to shut up, don't say anything, just do what we tell you.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? And to me, and I'm going to be talking about this not Thursday, but Friday. I'm going to tell you what I think politics is. And ultimately, black men speaking up and talking about their own personal issues is not patriarchy. It's not. And don't let these people confuse you and make you think that it is, because it's not. It's actually, guess what it is? Democracy. I'm gonna give myself a motherfucking Funks Master Flex bomb for that shit right there.
Drop the bomb. Drop the bomb, Flex. Drop the bomb.
So look, let's progress through this because it's not that much longer, okay? So then she goes on. She says, "This is not to deny that these sessions have at least two aspects that are therapeutic. I prefer to call even this aspect political therapy as opposed to personal therapy. The most important is getting rid of self-blame. Can you imagine what would happen if women, blacks, and workers, my definition of worker is anyone who has to work for a living as opposed to those who don't, all women are workers, we'll stop blaming ourselves for our sad situations? It seems to me the whole country needs that kind of political therapy. That is what the black movement is doing in its own way. We shall do it in ours. We are only starting to stop blaming ourselves. We also feel like we are thinking for ourselves for the first time in our lives. As the cartoon in Lilith puts it, I'm changing. My mind is growing muscles. Those who believe that Marx, Lenin, Engels, Mao, and Ho have the only and last good word on the subject, and that women have nothing more to add will, of course, find these groups a waste of time."
Really?
Yeah, man.
You think?
So look, bro, you saw the move, right?
I saw, yeah.
So the move is 69, right?
Oh my God.
We can't blame ourselves. So you talked about this already. Yeah. What they do is, I think Curry talks about this. I've heard Dr. Johnson talk about this as well. They absolve themselves from all participation and guilt associated with being a part of colonialism and slavery and Jim Crow and lynching and all the other,
all of it,
all that shit I talked about. They no longer have to be part of the problem. They're not part of the problem anymore. They've just divorced themselves from white men conceptually. Now, ain't no way they can literally divorce themselves from white men. They can't divorce themselves from history.
Nope.
But they can create sessions with each other to make themselves feel good politically about one another.
That's it.
And to absolve themselves of all blame and all guilt for having anything to do with what made black people so fucked up in this country to begin with. That's a hell of a thing, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. And it keeps happening over and over and over again, man. You know, you look at the moves, man. I mean, I compare it. I've used a criminal analogy. This is like a carjacking. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's like, you know, think about a carjacking, right? You know, you got black folks then you know, build this car and whatever, you know, and you trying to go on a destination, you trying to get somewhere, and all of a sudden, while you at the light, you know, some fools just roll up on you, you know, with guns.
Give me that.
They tell you to get out of the car. You know what I mean? And they jump in the car and they just move on, bro. That's what that is, man.
Carjacking.
That's what it is.
Political carjacking. This has been a stick up. You know what I'm saying? That's what this is. Hey, man, I never heard it quite put that way.
Man.
That right there is straight fire, brother. I got to give you some applause for that, man.
That's it.
Yeah, man. Um, so going back to the article, man, look, that's a hell of a thing, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like all of the movements for resistance against domination and oppression. Now they get to attach themselves to,
Yeah.
and then thereby avoiding, sidestepping
Yeah.
any culpability whatsoever
There you go.
in participation in the debasement of black people's lives, or any other group of people for that matter. We're talking about Native Americans as well.
Mm. Yeah, because they call them, they start saying that they were oppressed or that they are oppressed. You know,
Man,
man, I just recently read, man, I'm reading, and I mentioned this on my Facebook page. There's a feminist named Nikki Kendall. She has a book called Hood Feminism, and basically it's about race and class. And in this book, I mean, basically she's one of these black feminists who's always chastising white women for neglecting black women's stuff or what have you. And in the book, when she talks about white women, she uses the language of oppression. And she, she said, well, white women are oppressed in these ways, but black women are oppressed in these ways. And I'm like, she uses the language of oppression, in 2020, in reference to mainly middle class white women.
and then
And
the
so
question becomes, in my mind, how? Man, okay, so first and foremost, man, let's just be honest about this shit, right? So you hijack the civil rights movement.
Mhm.
You avoid culpability and responsibility for
Mhm.
your participation in segregation and Jim Crow. You avoid being culpable for slavery.
There you go.
You avoid all the culpability related to colonialism.
There you go.
But the reality is, nobody forced y'all asses to come over here in these boats and to kiss at the Statue of Liberty.
I mean,
Shit.
talk about an innocence. I call it the innocence project, man.
Oh, wait a minute, bro.
This is
The,
the white innocence project, right here. We're gonna call it that. The white innocence project, bro. Yeah, that's it.
the White Innocence Project, man.
There you go.
Oh man, I never heard it referred to that way, bro. You
That's
are
it.
like, man, you coming with so much fire, man. You done scorched the place, man. Damn.
That's it.
You done set the place on fire, bro. Look, before I move forward, man, I got to give a shout out to some people. I want to give a shout out to See Truth, the Revelator. I appreciate the donation. I really do. And also, I got to give a shout out to some people who hit me up on the Cash App. I want to give a shout out to Cedric Bowman. He's made a good contribution. I appreciate him for that. And also, I want to give a shout out to Victor, who hit me up on the Cash App. Thank you so much, sir, for your kind donations. Trust me, I really appreciate it. Thank you for all y'all do. Forrest Windu has made a comment. He says, Doc, is there a term for framing yourself as the victim only to gain power?
That's a good question.
A victim to gain power. I call it manipulation.
I call you a trickster.
A trickster.
Yeah.
You know, I call you, a sorceress.
There you go.
We don't want to. We'll use other term. You're a witch. like Bill Burr said, we need to be, all the generals across the world ought to be studying this shit.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
How you swing your Gucci boots over the fence of oppression? How you do that? I'm just. How do you get it to where? How did you get it to where black men are not a white people or black people? That's a hell of a thing, boy. Shit. Man, that's a hell of a thing, man. Look, let me move through the rest of this, man, before we stay stuck on this for too long. Mm-hmm. Then she goes on to say, the groups that I've been in have also not gotten into alternative lifestyles. Mm-hmm. Or what it, oh, you hear that? Alternative lifestyle.
There it is.
Or what it means to be a liberated woman. Mm. We came early to the conclusion that all alternatives are bad under present conditions. Mm. Whether we live with or without a man, communally or in couples, or alone, or married or unmarried, live with other women, go free, love, celibacy, or lesbianism, or any combination, there are only good and bad things about each bad situation. There is no more liberated way. There are only bad alternatives. In other words, there's nothing that's good about the system and their options within it. The only thing that they can do, right, or get into a bad situation given the context of the society in which we live. Yeah. So we see here, this to me is about personal relationships and their ability to live as lesbians, bro.
Yep.
That's what this is about to me.
Yeah, and their issues with those white family structures that they came out of. You know, this is white people's stuff. You know, and they project all this stuff. So you have these women who take all their family baggage or whatever and problems and project all that stuff on the entire world. You know, like this is happening all over the world. That all women all over the world are having this issue. You know, and that the men, you know, all over the world are no different from the men in their, you know, their cultures. You know, I mean, this is just white baggage, man. Just projected on everybody.
But then they projected on us.
Yeah.
You know, like, look, I don't know about what your personal experience has been with people from the LGBTQ community, but I mean, you know, here and there, you know, I laughed and giggled at it, but you know, I was never the kind of individual who decided that, you know, I was going to give a good tongue lashing or a good lashing to anybody who decided to do whatever they wanted to do sexually. Yeah. You know, I had a god brother, man, who was gay. I mean, I didn't even know what being gay was anyway. Like, I mean, you know, I'm a kid. You know, I never thought anything about it. I know he acted like a you know, feminine a little bit. Yeah. You know, he was a little limp in the wrist, but I never thought anything about it. I'm like, okay, just that's my god brother, man. I mean, he was older, you know. And I remember one time though, my parents asking me, you know, like, has he ever tried anything with you? Has he ever touched you? And I'm like, what y'all mean? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But like, I personally have never seen someone be brutalized on account of the fact that they were gay. I've never seen it. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, okay? Because I'm pretty sure that it has, okay? But I've never seen it. That's just me. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I haven't seen it. You know, I mean, I know that the attitudes that exist and some of the treatment can be very, you know, vile and everything. Yeah, man, you know, but I haven't, you know, I can only go with what they tell me, you know, and the experiences that they've had with their, you know, in their families and other places and everything. Yeah.
But Ronald, man, here's the question, bro. Ain't nobody ever stole on you in the hood?
Yeah. I mean, we've all been bullied, bro.
You ever had a gun pulled on you in the hood?
Yeah. There you go. There you go. I hear you. I hear you. Yeah.
You ever had somebody pull out a knife on you in the hood?
Woo.
You ever had somebody joan on you
Yeah,
at the lunch table or at the cafeteria early in the morning?
yeah, I'd heard that. Yeah.
I'm clowning right now. Hey, hey, look. I'm just saying.
uh-huh.
I came from a rough area, bro.
Yeah,
North side St. Louis, man. Pretty rough, okay? And
yeah. I hear
it's a place where if you had a brand new pair of Chuck Taylors, they was all white and the
you.
rim was red around it on the sole, man.
Yeah,
They'll step on them motherfuckers so that you wouldn't shine.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm keeping it 100 here,
No,
man.
I mean, I got in the fight, so I got bullied. I was jumped as a kid, a teenager. Man, I feel you, bro.
I'm just saying, man. Look, St.
Yeah.
Louis North Side. Hey, look, Kossuth and Fair. One day, I went to the swimming pool at Fairground Park, had a pair of white Chuck Taylors,
Uh-huh.
came out of the pool. Guess what happened to my shoes?
It
Them
was gone.
motherfuckers walked off on their own.
It was gone. I know.
I'm just keeping it 100 here, man.
No, I feel you, man. You know, in my perspective, because when you talk about stuff like that, like, and I've had, because I know people personally, who are gay, and I'm like, the bullying that people talk about, I'm like, no one has a monopoly on being bullied. You know what I mean? I mean, if you're a kid, lots of kids were bullied, and it's not to say that their bullying is just is less or anything like that. You know what I mean? But people have cruel things. We're black people, man. I mean, black boys, black girls, black male youth, black female youth, depending on the context, like you said, the environment you're talking about, all type of things happen, man. I mean, I went to schools where, people were fighting every day. People got jumped all the time. You know what I'm saying? And so, and there wasn't anything specific about it. It's just that, hell, you lived in a cruel environment and that shit came out. That's it.
I was talking, but I couldn't. All I can say is, man, shit happens, man. It don't matter if you're gay or straight. It don't matter if you come from the hood or you come from the suburbs. You gonna get bullied.
You don't get money, yeah.
You're going to get bullied, man.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? I got a
Yeah.
brother out here, man, 6'9", went to Beaumont High School. Now, I didn't go to Beaumont High School. My mother made sure that I went to a good high school. I went to CBC. But my mother graduated from Beaumont High School.
Mhm.
So I want to give a shout out to the brother out there, man. Give him some fanfare for graduating from Beaumont High School, man.
Good.
Yeah. Peace out to the Beaumont, man.
Yeah.
You know, my mother graduated. She was one of the first black people to actually go to Beaumont High School.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, she was in that era when she was
Mhm.
in that
Mhm.
era where, the schools had just begun to become desegregated. And she
Mhm.
dealt with a lot of bullshit. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
Having to undergo that experience, man. I just,
Yeah.
all I can tell you is I lived in the hood, you know what I'm saying? Even though I went off to school. I remember one day I came home from school, I had an RTC uniform on. Motherfucker stole on my ass just for having a damn RTC uniform on.
Hey, man.
They was like, who is this weird ass nigga walking down our street
Yep.
in a damn RTC uniform?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just, hey, look, ain't nobody getting out of this untouched, man.
No, of course not.
Everybody gonna be subjected to some form of debasement,
Of course.
cruelty, or some other kind of, perniciousness. There's no way you can escape it, man. We ain't getting out of here untouched, man.
No
Ain't
way.
nobody getting out of here untouched, man.
Not at all.
All I've been saying is, man, like,
Uh-huh.
for all of the complaining especially white women are among the most protected group of people.
Oh my God. No, they are the most protected group.
The most protected group of people in this motherfucker, man.
The most protected. Oh yeah.
But they
Oh
become
yeah.
oppressed all of a sudden. Okay.
Oh my
All right.
God.
Well, all right. Okay. So let me keep going. Okay. This is part of one of the most important theories we are beginning to articulate. We call it the pro-woman line. What it says basically is that women are really neat people.
Oh my God.
They're neat people. Okay, yeah. Only a woman would say some shit like that. A privileged white woman.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
The bad things that are said about us as women are either myths, women are stupid, tactics women use to struggle individually, women are bitches,
Mm,
or are actually things that we want to carry into the new society and want men to share too. Women are sensitive and emotional.
mm,
Women as oppressed people act out of necessity, act dumb in the presence of men, not out of
mm,
choice.
mm,
Women have developed great shuffling techniques for their own survival. Look
mm,
pretty and giggle to get or keep a job or a man. We should be used when necessary until such time as the power of unity can take its
mm,
place. Women are smart not to struggle alone, as
mm,
are blacks and workers. It is
mm,
no worse to be in the home than in the rat race of the job world. They are
mm.
both bad. Women, like blacks, workers, must stop blaming ourselves for
Oh,
our
oh
failures.
my God. Oh my God.
So, so first of all, she's comparing. And look, this I read an article a while ago.
uh-huh.
I did a show quite a bit of time ago. There's a woman by the name of Ann Dummett. Okay,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
she wrote an article called "Racism and Sexism: A False Analogy." This is a white
Mm-hmm.
woman in Britain,
Yeah.
and one of her main concerns was that ultimately, man, and anti-sexism is claiming that it is the same kind of fight as anti-racism,
Yeah.
and it's not.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
and basically what she says is anti-sexism is imitated much of the language of anti-racism.
Mm-hmm.
And basically
Mm-hmm.
she says like just hijacking it, like you said, like transferring it unadapted in a whole bunch of cases. So they
Dude,
refer to themselves as minorities. Or
man,
white
let me
women
tell you,
minority. They're the fucking majority of the demographic in the country.
bro, do you remember some years back the language of implicit bias became real popular,
Oh yeah.
right? And you know that it was used specifically towards matters of race, you know, and like juries and prosecutors, stuff like that, and the built-in prejudices that people have. I turned on the TV one day, man, watching the news, and it was some news feature on these white women, and they start using implicit bias, and these white women were using implicit bias in relationship to their experiences working in the medical profession, you know, and using implicit bias in terms of their experiences as patients and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, whoa. I mean, how does this tool first? It was kind of put out there as a tool to deal with race. Then it shifts, and now it's about sexism. You know what I mean? And they were using it, with the same. They were talking about it with respect to these white women with the same type of depth and gravity, as it's has been used in terms of race. You know, and so I mean, I put that example out there as just like a recent type of iteration of this stuff right here. That whenever you have black people or people who are not white, beginning to articulate, their issues and their struggles or what have you, um, you can rest and be assured that these white women are going to come around. They're going to come from around the corner. Okay. and they're going to grab the language and grab the concepts, and they're going to flip it and twist it and make it their own. It just
Man,
happens.
let me just say this, bro. How about this, man? How don't we just call a spade, bro? That the original Xerox machines, the original carbon copies, the original chips off the old block, the lookalikes, the knockoffs, the fugazis, the replicators, the swagger jackers, the biters,
there you go.
or white women. Stop swagger jacking. Stop trying to replicate the struggle. Y'all clones. Stop trying to clone black people's struggle, man. And this is one of the reasons why they all up in our politics, man. They got their fingers all up in the damn cookie dough, man, in the Kool-Aid, bro.
All of it, man.
You know, they all up in the Kool-Aid, bro.
All of it.
You know, it's time for y'all to get out of the Kool-Aid, man.
Yeah, all of it.
You know, it's time for them to stop that, man. So, look, here's the thing, man. Even black people are willing to admit that there are some black people that are fucked up, man, and do fucked up shit. Always have been that way.
Always, yeah.
But these group of people, man, they're like absolving themselves for any wrongdoing about anything at all. And we all know, man, from male perspectives, man, there's a whole host of behaviors that women engage in that are manipulative, passive aggressive, outright aggressive, exploitative. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. But we're not supposed to talk about that, because to have a conversation about that would be to mansplain. What type of fuckery is this, man? Witchcraft.
And when we talk about it, they call it misogyny. They call it sexism.
Right. So if black men say something, or any white men, God forbid, any man says something about a woman being exploitative, manipulative, or somehow using her sexual wiles as a way to exploit a man, then all of a sudden it becomes misogyny. How about that? Some straight bullshit.
That's it. I told you.
So let me just say this, man. Men do fucked up shit. Women do fucked up shit too. Until we can reconcile, you know, the reality, and until we can actually have an objective rendering of what occurs in the context of, you know, relations between sexes, and what happens in intimate relationships, or even workplace relationships, familial relationships, until we can have an honest and candid conversation about this, we're going to continue to be at this impasse. And I'm just seeing increasingly that men are like, man, fuck that. I'm not keeping my mouth closed anymore.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is that history is forcing those ideas out there. I mean, it's history, where we're at right now, because maintaining this mythology, man, it's difficult to sustain it. You know, you can't maintain it, you can't preserve it. You know, and so I think it's inevitable that the other side is going to have to, you know, fess up to its own flaws and its sins. You know what I mean?
Right.
Wickedness and everything like that, man. It's just inevitable. It's inevitable.
It's inevitable, man. Like,
you know,
you can't hold on to this idea that everybody else is a problem but me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm holier than thou. Everybody else is dirty as, you know, a man that just got through stepping out of the Mississippi River.
There you go.
You know?
There you go.
No. Like Andre 3000 said, lean a little bit closer, see, roses really smell like boo-boo. You ain't perfect out here. You're not perfect out here.
No.
We all have flaws. We all have the capacity to usher in malevolence into this world. And until we have the ability to actually state that and to put it out there as fact, we're going to continue to be mired in this Orwellian, Kafkaesque bullshit narrative that we're in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And look, man. I mean, technology is just one indicator that this stuff, cannot go on the way it, has. I mean, because they can't control this. I mean, they can't control what men are saying, what they're doing. They don't want to completely censor social media and the internet and all that kind of stuff, even though they really want to, but they can't. They can't do that. You know. These ideas are out there, man. I mean, we couldn't have had this type of exchange 20 years ago, and have this stuff floating around all over the world.
Yeah, you're right about that, man. You're right. You're right, man.
you know, I mean, think
But
about it.
hey,
Yeah.
look, because in the same way that they say they're coming to political awareness, we're coming to
Mhm.
political awareness as well.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
we're beginning to make sense of our own reality in our own context. We're beginning
absolutely.
to make the personal political for
There you go.
ourselves.
There you go. There you go.
And ain't no way you can stop it.
You can't stop it. You can't stop it. I mean, and just think about all the hoopla like around Ice Cube, that we've seen, and all of these people pulling out their hair, frantic over the idea of black men actually thinking for themselves. You know what I mean? And the people all over the Twitter and making their rounds on CNN and MSNBC talk about how patriarchal black men are and everything. I mean, that's just an indicator, man, that they have no control. They have absolutely no control, and they can't stop the bum rush.
Hey
Word to
man,
Chuck
Chuck D and Flavor Flav.
D.
Yeah, boy.
Can't stop the bum rush.
Can't stop the bum rush. Yo, bum rush the show.
Here you go.
Yo, bum rush the show. So let's get through a couple of more. It's only three more. Well, it's a little bit more than three paragraphs, but uh, let's get through it. Let's try to push through it a little bit more, and then we'll come back and take a break, and then let some people come in and ask a few questions if they want to. If not, we'll just break from there. Sound good to you, brother?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
So it says it took us some 10 months to get to the point where we could articulate these things and relate them to the lives of every woman. It's important from the standpoint of what kind of action we're going to do. When our groups first started, going by majority opinion, we would have been out in the streets demonstrating against marriage, which nobody's forcing you to get married, not in today's culture anyway. Against having babies, well, keep your legs closed. You might not have any babies. For free love, well, dot, 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 dot. I call that
Fucking on your bitch, yeah, Fucking on your bitch, yeah, Fucking on your bitch, yeah, Fucking on your bitch, yeah,
hey, bro. Hey, man. Hey, look, I ain't trying to get too outrageous with it, but hey, it's just what I'm thinking, yo. So,
Hey,
so
hey, yeah,
look,
yeah, yeah.
um, free love against women who wore makeup, against housewives, for equality without recognition of biological differences, and God knows what else. Now we see all these things as what we call personal solutionary. Many of the actions taken by action groups have been along these lines. The women who did the anti woman stuff at the Miss America pageant were the ones who were screaming for action without theory. The members of one group want to set up a private daycare center without any real analysis of what can be done to make it better for little girls, much less any analysis of how that center hastens the revolution. That is not to say, of course, that we shouldn't do action. There may be some very good reasons why women in the group don't want to do anything at the moment. One reason that I often have is that this thing is so important to me that I want to be very sure that what we're doing, that we're doing it the best way we know how, and that it is a right action that I feel sure about. I refuse to go out and produce for the movement. We had a lot of conflict in our New York group about whether or not to do action. When the Miss America protest was proposed, there was no question but that we wanted to do it. I think it was because we all saw how it related to our lives. We felt it was a good action. There were things wrong with the action, but the basic idea was there. I don't even know what she's referencing. I guess,
Oh my
I guess
God.
they felt women were exploited by the
Yeah.
Miss America pageant,
Hmm.
objectified,
Yeah.
you know. But when women objectify themselves, that's
Yeah.
pussy power.
There
You
you go.
know, some of that WAP, some of that WAP.
Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Fucking on your bitch.
Hey, look, hey, it's good when they objectify themselves, but let a man admire a woman.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
do that.
yeah.
And men are left scratching their heads like, what the?
Bruh.
What is this?
You know what's
Like, what is this, man?
when you think about, what happened since then, I mean, they lost the war against Miss America and Miss Universe. They lost the war against Hugh Hefner. They lost the war against Larry Flint. You know, lost the war against pornography. All that stuff that she's hinting at right here in terms of their protests and everything.
Right. And then they came after your boy Luke Campbell,
Yeah.
who, by the way, is getting divorced out of nowhere because his wife just decided that,
That's,
I'm not happy anymore.
and it's interesting. Shortly after she had a baby.
And because that's that cash cow.
Shortly after she had a baby at 40.
You know what she's saying? You know what she's saying right now?
Got him! Got him! Oh!
Had that baby at 40 and just punched out.
I'm telling you what she said, bro. But you know what though? I'm telling you, bro. This what guys don't understand, man. I can't play too much of it, but
These hoes ain't loyal.
There you go.
Keep
There
it
you
real
go.
with your dog no matter what.
Preach. Same bitch decline, she love you, she'll set you up. Preach.
Keep it real with your
But think about this, man. All this stuff she's talking about, man. This is right. This is before no fault divorce, and before all that stuff gets kicked in. This is before the family courts. Really, go off the charts. In the '80s and everything else, man. So this is the prelude to all that, man. Yeah.
so let's push through it some more, man. This has been my experience in groups that are accused of being therapy or personal. Perhaps certain groups may well be attempting to do therapy. Maybe the answer is not to put down the method of analyzing from personal experiences in favor of immediate action, but to figure out what can be done to make it work. Some of us started to write a handbook about this at one time and never got past the outline. We are working on it again and hope to have it out in a month at the latest. It's true. We all need to learn how to better draw conclusions from the experiences and feelings we talk about and how to draw all kinds of connections. Some of us haven't done a very good job of communicating them to others. One more thing. I think we must listen to what so-called apolitical women have to say. Not so we can do a better job of organizing them, but because together we are a mass movement. I think we who work full-time in the movement tend to become very narrow. What is happening now is that when non-movement women disagree with us, we assume it's because they are apolitical, not because there might be something wrong with our thinking. Women have left the movement in droves. The obvious reasons are that we are tired of being sex slaves and doing shit work for men whose hypocrisy is so blatant in their political stance of liberation for everybody else. But there's really a lot more to it than that. I can't quite articulate it yet. I think apolitical women are not in the movement for very good reasons. And as long as we say, you have to think like us and live like us to join the charmed circle, we will fail. What I'm trying to say is that there are things in the consciousness of apolitical women, I find them very political, that are as valid as any political consciousness we think we have. We should figure out why many women do not want to do action. Maybe there is something wrong with the action or something wrong with why we are doing the action, or maybe the analysis of why the action is necessary is not clear enough in our minds. So I don't think she's talking about women who actually don't think like them for the most part. But she is saying that about them as well. But for women who see, like, I don't want to go out there and protest or be engaged in all this radicalism, you know. But maybe it's because perhaps a lot of women see through your narcissistic, self-absorbed solar system and think it's absolute complete bullshit.
Yep. That's it. It's a waste of time.
Maybe some women know that, like, because some women are other women's biggest critics and say that I can't stand them bitches.
You know, and you know, and the other part. So you got the working class women, man. No one talks about. So you got black women who got working class backgrounds, and then you have white women and other women, might be Latina or whatever, who got working class backgrounds, man. You know, and I mean, this stuff is, you know, it's frivolous to them. You know, this is just, you know, they have better things to be concerned with. You know, you know, they understand that marriage is about, you know, trade-offs and everything. They understand that.
Hey, look, the funny thing about it is most of these women who were the most radical feminists in the early 70s, late 60s, guess what they are now? Love and marriage, love and marriage.
There you go.
And look, this is what puzzles me, though, about these black feminists, though, because in a lot of ways, it seems like what black women are trying to do was what white women were doing in the early 70s and the late 60s. But white women let it go.
Yeah.
But black women are trying to push the shit now.
They're trying to outdo the white. They're trying to outdo them.
And it's like I'm left scratching my head because white women tried lesbian communes.
Yeah.
Do you see them now? Are they living in lesbian communes now?
No, man. Let me tell you something. I know some personally who've been there. They done that, and it was like, you know, it was just an experiment or whatever. But this is not the way I want to live. Okay. I've met them. I've talked to them. I know them.
It's the craziest shit in the world. Like, I can't understand for the life of me. Like, even if you decide to be the kind of individual that is a lesbian or whatever the case may be, you spread yourself thin when you just out there being a whore, man.
Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Fucking on your bitch, yeah,
that.
Because many of these women found that even amongst the women in the communes, there were dirtbags amongst them.
Of course.
You know, like, I mean, come on, man. It's not, human beings are not designed in such a way that they're supposed to just take in dick after dick or woman after woman. It's just, people aren't designed that way, man.
Bro, can you imagine, you know, some butch lesbians just having a field day, bro? You know what I'm saying? Among, you know, those women in those communes, and, you know, really taking advantage of the ones who were vulnerable. And I've used the analogy, man. It was not the analogy; it's the real thing. You know, the situation with women in prison. You know, I mean, you have situational lesbian in prison, and those women, you know, you have a lot of those women who go to prison who are heterosexual. You know, and because they get lonely or whatever, they get caught up in lesbian affairs, and they get preyed upon, you know, by the butch women and stuff, you know. And hell, what was that? Orange is the New Black?
Right.
That film, that series, it showed all that, you know. And so,
but like, it doesn't happen amongst them, though.
No,
you know, they're gonna be safe with each other, though.
It happens in the real world.
like there are no female predators among them. I'm just saying that's how they act.
That's how they act. I know.
You know, like there are no predators among them. Hey, look, let me show you something, man. Look, this some straight, man, look at this shit here, bro. Now tell me this shit ain't crazy, man.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, man. Let me unshare this screen. Let me remove this and stop the screen. Share the screen. Go to the Chrome tab. No, the application went. So you mean to tell me women ain't got to be on the lookout for that motherfucker right there? Tell me that motherfucker right there ain't got a couple lean.
Damn.
That motherfucker ain't got no psychedelic drugs and ready to take advantage of a bitch.
I know that's right. Good
And
God
look, and
Almighty.
look. Do you see the fake dick print, man?
Yeah, look at God. Dang.
That's what's out there right now, man. That's
That's
what
what's
they
out there.
prefer over a
That's
real man.
Oh my God.
What is this, man?
Oh my God.
You know, I can see her right now in the crib like this. She the daddy. She the pimp.
It's crazy, bro.
You know? She
It's
the one.
crazy. She the one. Yep.
So, you know, look.
Walking around with a dildo. You know what I'm saying?
That's some crazy shit, bro. But look, okay, look, we got one more.
Walking around with a dildo between her legs. Ain't that some shit, man?
Ain't that some shit, man?
That's some shit, man.
Hey,
Damn.
man, look, I'm just going to go out and say it, man. Hey, man, hey, bro, look, man, that's just too much, man. That's.
But you know that penis envy is real, bro. That penis envy is real.
But hey, you know, if they like it, I ain't gonna say I love it, but you know, if that's what they want to be on, man, you know, cause like it's a lot of women turning that way now, man. They like, okay, I'm going this way. I don't want to deal with no man, cause men are this way. Like women are different. Like these women are fundamentally different. Like there are no malevolent among them.
I know.
And you know, it is what it is, man. I just thought I would share that with you, man.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. I had seen that before.
Hey, man, that is crazy, bro.
Man.
But yeah, that's you know, it is what it is. New world.
It's a new world, man. It's.
So, well, actually, that's it. You know, like this is the thing, man. Sex slaves, man.
Yeah.
Doing shit work for men.
Come on.
That you know, men aren't doing their fair share of the housework, and
bro,
you know, I'm just, man. Look,
I'm gonna say this, man. This is pimp shit right here, bro. That's what this is right here. This is psychological pimping. You know, I mean, this type of writing. I mean, and this is the type of writing that was like manufactured over and over again. And just imagine black women and other women who are not white, who just impressionable minds, and they just got caught up in this and ran with it. You know what I mean? And never questioned it. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's just you talking about sorcery. Yes, sorcery, witchcraft. You know, hell, pimp shit. This some pimp shit right here, man. You know, this is pimp psychology. You
man,
know,
this
at
is
a high level.
I wish I had some 8-ball and MJG shit, man, because you just dropped a bomb right there, bro. This is space age pimping, man.
Yes.
Do things. That's what this is, man.
That's what it is, man. Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, because think about, I don't know about you, man, because, you know, when I read stuff like that, when I was in college, you know, I'm not going to lie, man, I was kind of sympathetic to it, you know, because I was open, you know, I mean, I had my mother, you know, I was raised in a single parent household and all that kind of stuff. And I knew she had struggles raising me by herself and all that, you know, you got women in your family. And, yeah, I wasn't I wasn't really all that critical of it at that particular time. You know what I mean? I didn't even think too much of the fact that it was coming out of the experience of middle class, white women. You know, and I remember that, man. So they were very, I'm talking about when I'm 19, 20 years old. They were very effective in propagating all that and those ideas, and then you wed it to culture, right? So you wed it to TV shows, stuff like the Golden Girls and Mary Tyler Moore, and Maud, all those shows coming out in the 1970s, and you had All in the Family, Gloria, she was like a budding feminist, and Mike, her husband, he was the liberal white male, so they were pushing all those ideas, man, on us, on our generation.
Yeah, man, and Archie Bunker and George Jefferson and James from Good Times, they were all these regressive black men.
There you go.
That's the Norman Lear years. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
it. Yep. 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 Yep.
This white Jewish man pushing all this crazy shit on us. You know what I'm saying?
There you go. There you go.
Don't you motherfucker, you ain't gonna cancel me like Nick Cannon. You can try it, but fuck y'all. You know what I'm saying? We gotta keep it real about this shit though.
Yeah,
See, everybody all sensitive and shit. Motherfuckers all scared, shaking in their boots, invisible bully like the gooch.
Yeah, and the Murphy Brown stuff, all that stuff, man. From the 70s up into the 90s, up to this point, and it's that kind of cultural support that these women writers received, from the media, man, and the big networks and everything. And then, think about it. I mean, this is the part of college reading, with women's studies and people in literature and English and other places. If you're going to be an educated person and you're doing courses in the humanities and social sciences, you're gonna, read that stuff, So.
And I read it, and I was sympathetic to it as well. And look, I just never had the ability to decipher through some of the bullshit associated with this, man. Like it's very difficult to connect the dots. And of course, most men, I'm just saying, like, as a general principle, the way we're socialized in this country is to defer to women.
Yes.
We are taught that from an early age. Women first, ladies first.
Yeah.
There's certain respect there's a certain sort of respect that you ever have to afford. I mean, that you have to afford women. Like, it's trained. You're trained in it from knee high, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like when you start off in grade school, the girls get to go to eat first, or you open up the doors for the girls, and you never put your hands on a girl. She can whip the dog shit out of you, but you better not do anything to her.
Yeah.
It's just all kind of craziness out here, man. Like, but men are slowly becoming aware, because even within the context of the system as it was.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how white men ran their households, man. I've never seen men just refuse to do anything. Or have like rule their households with an iron fist, to where women were like in balls and chains around the house, drudging and toiling. I've never seen it, but I have had a woman get mad at me in the middle of the night because I'm sleeping and the baby crying.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, what you want me to stay up with you?
Yeah.
I mean, because I can't feed this motherfucker if you breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Now, if we want to go to the bottle shit, we can do something different. But if you breastfeeding, it looks like you got a job that I can't perform right now. So you mad at me because I'm sleeping? You want me to be up because you can't be, sleep right now. So I got to be up with you. Everything you going through, I got to go through. And everything I got to go through it by my goddamn self.
There you go.
Like, it's just.
There you go.
It's some unreasonable shit out here, bro. Like, and
Yeah, yeah, and they
Yeah,
politicized. So the thing is, they went overboard in politicizing damn near every aspect of their personal existence. You know what I mean? It took it too far, man. You know, a lot of stuff was hyperbole and just extreme, grievances, that, amplified problems that were really not that big, So,
especially as it pertains to race.
mm, yeah.
And but now these white women's middle class concerns have become the concerns of women everywhere throughout the
Oh my,
entirety of the goddamn globe.
oh my God.
And men have personal issues too. That's all
Yeah.
I want to say. Men go through things also, and at the current moment, we can't even bring our issues to the fore because of the momentum, the incessant browbeating, the
Uh-huh.
continued victim narrative that's
Uh-huh.
been put out there. And it's everywhere, it's
Oh yeah.
ubiquitous.
Oh yeah.
And to try to find a way out of it is going to be difficult at this point, but black men have to hold the line.
Oh yeah.
And I think that we're the canary in the coal mine because all of this impacts and affects us more than it does other groups of persons. And, I'll say
Yeah.
this.
No.
Take, for example, this Biden motherfucker, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, they want black men to vote for this motherfucker
Uh-huh.
who has a history
Yeah.
of, first of all, being condescending to black people
Yeah.
in general, but not
Uh-huh.
just that, for authorizing, for authoring a
Uh-huh.
bill that is responsible for criminalizing
Mm-hmm.
nonviolent criminal actions of men
Yeah. Yeah.
related to drug dealing,
Yeah.
which ended up sending black men to prison, man, in ways that they had never been subjected to the carceral state before.
Yeah.
But now they're trying to walk it back. Well, black people asked for this.
Oh Lord.
Black people wanted this. And then, I'm thinking about the book written by this brother, Jaden. I forget what his name. The Silent Black Majority is the name of the book. I can't.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Let me find out the author of this.
Is that McWater?
Yeah. That's it.
John McWater?
Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you don't feel too fondly about that. No, that's not the guy. It's no Michael Javen Fortner is his name.
Okay.
So I know you don't really like John McWhorter.
Yeah.
But I do. Look, I like the black conservative guys more than I did when I was younger because when I was younger, I'm thinking to
Uh-huh.
myself like these guys
Uh-huh.
are just
Crazy. Uh-huh.
they're throwback. But actually, they're using empirical data. They're using the
Yeah.
methodology of the social sciences
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah. And
economics in order to make arguments and not just referring to what they want to be the case
yeah.
by fiat.
So my thing is I spar with the conservative guys. You know what I'm saying? So it's like getting in the ring and boxing with them. You know what I mean? And so I have a reason to. You know what I mean? Because I disagree with a lot of the stuff that they say, and I disagree with with McWhorter. His reading of data. I don't always particularly agree with or what have you. But I got a good number of his books, man, and even the stuff I'm writing now. I'm using him. I mean, I've lived with his stuff. I just don't. I got some issues with the brother. I to be honest.
Right.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and back to what you were saying about the this personal stuff. Here's the thing, man. We are penalized for this personal stuff, bro. And so Biden also did the the VWA, the Violence Against Women Act. And you think about how many families were destabilized because of domestic violence calls. And because of the need for them to, put people in jail and people losing their jobs, men and women. I mean, that stuff had an adverse effect on, poor Black people, Latinos and stuff. I mean, that law targeted mainly non-middle class people. I mean, that it was never all that domestic violence stuff was never created for upper middle class people or middle class people, middle class white people in particular.
Right.
I mean, and I've talked to prosecutors who've prosecuted domestic violence cases, and I asked them, I said, how often, did you have, middle class or upper middle class white people stand before you who engaged in these so-called, crimes? And she said it was like zero, you know, and so that stuff was used to target black people.
Right.
And that's personal. Okay, that's personal right there. You get into a dispute with your girlfriend, your wife, or what have you, and people call the police and everything like that. And before you know it, I mean, you know it all. You know it better than I do. So I mean, that's some real stuff, man. And then, yeah, I mean, the other side of it is that so the women become innocent, right? And
Exactly.
you go through this innocence project that they go through, and then all of a sudden we become villains and we become these heinous characters. And so think about it, we're called these patriarchs. For me, when we're called patriarch, it's not just kind of a description of an undesirable type of tyrannical man, from the part of feminists. But when they call us patriarchs, for me, they're also criminalizing us, because for them, the patriarch, when you apply it to black men, it's a criminalizing thing, and it's used in a way to criminalize us so that we are not able to participate in society, you know. And so it's like if you have an aspiration, to rise above your status, if you are you're a lower class male and you want to become middle class and you want to become professional or whatever, they automatically uh, impose that label on you. Oh, you want to be a white man. I said, oh my God. So you're saying my desire to enhance the material quality of my life means that I want to be like a white man? You know what I mean? And they call it patriarchy. And that's and, and that's personal, bro. I mean, now that's personal. Any black man who wants to improve his life, I mean, that's a part. That's something very personal. That's something intimate. You know what I mean? And the whole process of you going about doing that, and that can involve you getting married and not getting married, having kids and not having kids. You know what I mean? I mean, it can involve a lot of things that affect you at a very deep personal level. But they have this language that criminalizes, our, personal aspirations, bro. It's crazy.
It's not only crazy. It in and of itself. I did a show about this, man. Like these women say that they're protecting us, but they're oppressing us because they're putting out to the public that we are criminals.
Yeah, yeah.
And they are actually making us, they're turning us, converting us into criminals
Uh-huh.
because they're upset or angry because we're not doing their bidding. That's criminal, man.
And
That
you're
in and of
giving
itself is criminal.
the larger public a license to kill us.
Man.
By doing that in the public domain. I did this, video a month ago, a few weeks back, on the defamation of black men. You know what I mean? And that's basically what it does, man. When you have these people who are out here criminalizing us, using this language, saying that we want to be like white men, okay, and that we these oppressive men and what have you, that gives the larger society a rationale and justification for killing us. Literally or socially. Don't employ these men. Make sure that they're kept out of economic opportunity. Make sure that all the doors are closed. Make sure that they remain at the bottom of this society. You know what I mean? And
You,
that's it.
You know what, man? I had a woman tell me, bruh, you need to be brought down a notch.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Literally, you think you better than me.
That's it. That's it.
That degree you got don't mean shit.
There you go.
Anybody can get a PhD.
There you go. There you go. You just a nigga with a PhD.
I mean, you got to think about that, man.
Yeah.
Who the fuck? Like, man, look, I also did a show about how after the Civil War, what white women did in the South now, because there's a different. You got to understand, like most of this feminist shit is coming from these middle class, liberal, Eastern, East Coast motherfuckers, right?
Yep.
But like these women in the South,
Yep.
the first thing they did, man, was they started erecting statues to honor the patriarchs of the South.
That's what they did.
And the evidence of it is the statues themselves, which were erected primarily by an organization named the Daughters of the Confederacy. Okay? And at the end of the day, man, they uplifted them men who died.
Mm-hmm. In the war they lost, in a war that they lost.
Bottom line, in a war that they lost.
War they lost. That's it.
And at the end of the day, we got a woman who's coming in, man, to talk some shit right now. So we'll invite you. We're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna invite people who have dissenting opinions to come in and talk about whatever they want to talk about. So, having said that, I'm leaving the link in the chat section. We're going to take a quick break on the Green Gorilla channel. When we come right back, we'll be ready to do just what we said. Thank you. We are back. I'm the G with a PhD. You're tuned into the Green Gorilla channel, the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chaser. Now, I'm the G with a PhD, aka the Toxic Avenger. Also known as the wielder of the Malleus Maleficarum. I'm also known as he who doesn't give a fuck. he who have no fucks left to give. So, for anyone who would like to leave a comment or to ask any of us a question, you are now free to do so at this time. We're going to allow like a minute and 30 seconds for people to do so. But if there are no takers in a minute and 30 seconds, we're going to close off the opportunity for that to occur. And we're just going to move forward. So, man, it's been a great show though, bro, man. How's the Kakalaka? How's that doing you right now?
Oh man, we holding up, man. We're looking at, the political climate here, man. The state is still red. It's a swing state, but I think it's gonna stay red.
Hey, look, hey, man, ain't no doubt in my mind. You saw them Asian motherfuckers, man, on Facebook the other day. I mean, they was like blocks and blocks long with Asian women holding up Asians for Trump. 4 more years for Trump. And then they had the nerve to say that Texas was in play for Biden. And I'm thinking to myself, like, Texas?
Texas, come on, man. Texas.
Texas,
man.
Texas? Come on, man. Ain't no way Texas is in play.
Yeah, they think what's his name? What's the guy name from San Antonio or Austin with Beto O'Rourke? That was his name. What's the guy? One of the guys who ran for president. He dropped out. I think his name was O'Rourke.
O'Rourke?
Yeah, he was from. I think he's out of Austin. And so you got these folks who think that because you got some blue folk in Texas, or a little so-called diversity, that Texas is gonna swing. I say that yeah, right.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
You got too much oil in Texas. Too much oil in Texas to swing.
Right. Too much oil in Texas, bro. Too much money in Texas, man.
Too much money in Texas, yeah. Too much.
And that money, man. That money, man. They don't want them high taxes, man.
They don't want them high taxes, man.
At all. You know what I'm saying? And another thing they don't want is a group of outsiders, coming along and trying to impose their will, on social issues either. And because these are some good old boys here, man.
Oh yeah.
These boys that wear these cowboy boots and they like to go fishing and hunting. I'm just keeping it 100, man. Yeah, these ain't no California motherfuckers here, man. No, this ain't no California East Coast action here, man.
Yeah. And it's it's an NRA state, and they want their guns, and they don't want nobody to take the guns away. So, you know what it is.
Yeah, we know what it is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And look. So this Jessica woman, man, here, but she ain't coming live tonight. But here it is. Basically her main complaint is,
what does she say?
There's a lot of black men, man, who they date white women and that they give whatever boons that they receive from being progressive in terms of being able to take advantage of market opportunities. What they do is they date white women and have children with white women and therefore they're sellouts. And like the funny thing about it is, ain't
Kamala Harris.
ain't two of the motherfuckers in Black Lives Matter. Ain't two of them got some white motherfucking spouses?
Last time I checked, yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, all that good money off black male death going to who?
There you go.
I'm just asking, you know what I'm saying? Like, look, but we do know that in reality, the vast majority of black men date black women.
They with them. They date them and marry them and procreate with them.
I mean, primarily.
Now,
but here's the deal. Like, put it this way. Let's just be honest, right? A lot of black women, not all, but a lot of black women are ignorant as a motherfucker. Independent, I don't need no man. Got their hands all up in your face, fingers in your face, while they neck rolling.
Yeah.
What you doing today, Tyrone? I don't want to hear all that shit, Tyrone.
Essentially removing herself from the market.
You can't tell me what to do. You ain't the boss of me, Tyrone. a liberated black woman. Ain't no way you gonna tell me what you want me to wash some dishes. You better wash them your goddamn self, Tyrone. I'm just saying, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
black men who make a lot of money
Yep.
and who are wealthy
Yep.
and who can have the pick of the litter of women.
Litter. They choose.
If he's intelligent, like I wasn't, apparently I wasn't, but you know, if a black man is smart,
Mm-hmm.
he's going to deal with a woman that is respectful,
Mm-hmm.
who, when he goes home, he doesn't have to deal with an attitude.
There you go.
Somebody who's going to be cooperative and not just adamantly ignorant just for the sake of being ignorant, because I'm strong as a motherfucker. I'm the backbone in the black community. I'm just saying.
That's it.
I mean, the problem is black men for the most part don't have the capacity to get close to whiteness. We are the penultimate in relation to whiteness.
There you go.
Whiteness is defined by being the antithesis of black male.
There you go.
Now, black women like to put themselves in the conversation like, well, we're the most oppressed because we're black and we're women.
Lord.
I'm just like, come on, let's just keep this real here, man. We got to be honest about this shit. And for far too long, we have not been honest about this, man.
No.
There is a gynocracy in the black community, man. This has been happening for the past 60, 70 years, man. And we're not going to be able to reconcile if we can't tell the truth about this shit. And it might just have to do with the fact that men who are wealthy, who are black, are deciding to mate with people who are going to actually be submissive and more feminine, less independent. Who the fuck? Why even be in a relationship with someone and they're independent?
There you go. Like I said recently, you know, the black woman who says that she is strong and independent, she doesn't need a man. She's nothing more than a man without a penis. That's all she is.
When a man wants to get married and he wants to be with a woman, he doesn't want a fucking man without a penis.
There you go. That's it.
I'm just saying.
I mean, that's you know, come on, man.
I'm just saying, man.
No one wants it. You might as well be gay. You know what I'm saying? No one wants it. Seriously, man. You know what I mean? You know.
So look, this is what, okay, so we all heard of Robert Staples, right? Because I read Robert Staples not too long ago. And he made a very important argument related to this issue, right? And basically says, look, black women like to dismiss the interracially involved black male as a classic example of the brainwashed idiot who is seduced by whiteness. Yet we never question how such a large proportion of black men who can lead our organizations, publish our magazines, star in our films, sing our songs, write our books, can be so gullible as to be seduced by nothing more than white skin pigmentation. The answer to the question of why middle-class black men date and marry white is not a simple or monolithic one. Certainly since the 60s, it has something to do with increased opportunities to do so. Beyond that factor, we have only speculation. It could be that the most successful black men have values and lifestyles most in tune with white society. That is often why they are successful. Among those values will exist the one that women should be supportive and subordinate. Whether true or not, many black men, including those involved with black women, do not believe black women fit that model very well. As previously stated, I am personally indifferent to the question of whether black men should date or marry white, a position which Often the advocates and opponents of said question assume to place me in the enemy camp. For all the
Yeah.
screaming and hollering, race mixing still occurs among less than 5% of the black male population. Right now, I would say it's less than 15%, really. Right? Prison, drugs, and homosexuality have done more to reduce the number of eligible males available to black women. In this fluid period, women will not find it easy to carve out an independent career and lifestyle and maintain a stable relationship with the man. In one study of the characteristics of divorced and married women, the divorced women turned out to be significantly more aggressive and independent than the women who remain married. Women, to a large extent, are victimized by the fact that the very same characteristics they need to obtain career mobility, aggressive, strong achievement drive, are the ones that make it difficult to attract and hold a man. Thus, they are often placed in the position of a forced choice between career and marriage. And men place them in this position by their insistence on women playing supportive, not competitive roles. Is this sexism? I guess so. It can also be a matter of personal choice that cannot be denied men. They have a right to choose a woman that meets their perceived needs, even if the exercise of that right limits the life options of women. So, you know, it is what it is.
That's it.
Ain't nobody got to marry your ass.
Nobody.
Ain't nobody got to marry you.
No.
We ain't got to marry you.
You're not entitled to what we have.
We don't have to marry you.
No.
You've made it clear that you don't have to marry us. Shit,
right.
Eve married a white man. Meghan Markle married a fucking prince.
There you go.
I mean, shit.
No
Serena Williams married a white dude.
None of us complained about that.
If you like it, I love it.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? Make sure you hit, you hitting it right. You know what I'm saying? You got a problem. You might come back to the chocolate factory, but it is what it is. But no woman, no matter what race, has a right, especially if they're being belligerent, ignorant, calling us the white people, black people, telling us we ain't shit, calling us dusty and crusty. Why would I want to sleep next to that?
Why?
Why would I do that?
That's insane.
We do it, but we do it anyway, though. You know what I'm saying? Even we do it anyway to our own detriment. You just talked about how women have been weaponized against black men and all like these domestic violence policies, the Believe Her, the Me Too shit. And women are not taking accountability for the shit that they cause in the household to let it foment and get to the point where it is to begin with. And all they're doing is playing the fucking victim card. So cry me a river with all that bullshit. But you know what, boo-boo? I'm going to tell you this.
Because I know somewhere deep down in my heart, I still love you.
I already roasted her ass one time. I don't know why she came back on here trying to have the same conversation. You know, I mean, bottom line, like maybe it's the case that Latino women you don't hear about Latino women being neck rolling, hand clapping. We the backbone of the Latino community. I ain't never heard no shit like that. I don't hear that.
Nope.
I just don't hear that.
You don't hear the Asians do that either.
We just don't. We don't like that shit is not heard.
Y'all take pride in some losing stuff. I'm telling you.
I'm a hand clapping, neck rolling. I want it the way I want it, and you ain't shit, nigga. Come on, man. We can do better than that.
We can do.
That's why we have this antagonism amongst the sexes. That's why we have it. And basically, man, look. I don't have time, man, to play games and to lie and to continue to foment fiction, or to propagate fiction. If we're going to tell the truth, we're going to tell the truth.
Yep.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how it is.
Yep.
So, you know, look, brother, man, you know, you've been here for about 2 hours, man. And, you know, I really appreciate your presence, man. Every time
yeah.
you come to the show,
Yeah,
it is
man.
a blessing, brother. And you
Oh,
know what,
man.
man? I got to give you some fanfare for that, man. I
Oh,
appreciate
man.
you coming here, my brother.
My
For
pleasure,
sure,
bro.
man. Hey, man, and every time you come here, brother,
Yes, sir.
it's like, you know, like Don Cornelius, man. It's like the soul train in this motherfucker, boy.
I love it.
It's like, you know, like the soul train, man, you know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. I always enjoy chopping it up, man.
And, you
With the
know,
green,
like, you know,
the G with the PhD.
yeah, man, you know, that's what I'm doing, man,
Yes, sir.
for a little short time, you know what I'm
There you
saying?
go.
Till I'm about to come off. Hopefully if I get to Dr. Johnson's
There you
status
go.
one day,
There
maybe
you
I
go.
might go ahead and show my physics.
There you go. I hear you.
You know. But man, it's been a pleasure, man. We left the lines open. Nobody decided they wanted to come in tonight
Yeah,
and
it's
have
cool.
a chat with us.
It's
That's
all
cool,
good.
man.
It's all
But you know,
good.
it was just good enough to have y'all in the chat, man, and to have a
Yes,
presence
sir.
in here anyway. And thank the young lady for coming in too. At least she's trying to listen to something. Even
Oh,
if she's
yeah.
trying to argue against us, at least she's trying to have a
She's
conversation.
trying. She's trying. She's trying. There
At
you
least
go.
she's willing to have a conversation.
She's
So,
open.
you know.
Give her props for that.
So anyway, man, thank y'all for coming, man. Like Russell
All right.
Simmons, God bless y'all. Good night, man.
Good night.
I know you player haters gon' hate, cause I'm at the finish line and I'm in the first place. I'm a winner, and I know I'll never lose, cause I'm way too ahead of you, dude. I know you player haters gon' hate, cause I'm at the finish line and I'm in the first place. I'm a winner, and I know I'll never lose, cause I'm way too ahead of you, dude. I'm coming. Okay, here I go. Guaranteed to be the leader of the race, come in first place. Put the pedal to the metal, let it burn, then I blow up in your face for the boom of the big bass. Turn around, nigga, block face. Nigga, turn up the track, leave you hurt with a burnt face. Fuck a nigga, cause he gon' hate. Put some pippin' in his cup, set him out for the date rate. I go, I blaze, throw grenades in the party till I'm clearing out the whole place. Who got that block money loan? You can hear it in my tone, better home, you don't know me. Better run, nigga, bustle like a gun. Ain't a motherfucker nigga that can hold me. I'm tired of nigga suckin', find your bitch so she can blow me. Ain't nobody never chased like a young boy, many bomb boys, and he hit like a donkey. And he roll with a convoy with them hot toys. If you really wanna get it jumpin'. I blow that monkey, that hairy back green gorilla. Take it through the nose, put it on my mind, I'm a beast like Michael Jackson Thriller. Your boys are trippin', I ain't hearing till you're speaking something. Don't do too much because your pussies always do it for me. Yeah, get it good, get it like I should. All the hating motherfuckers better keep it coming. Put them all in a bar to a bomb and that motherfucker leave they body slumping. I know you player haters gon' hate, cause I'm at the finish line and I'm in the first place. I'm a winner, and I know I'll never lose, cause I'm way too ahead of you, dude. I know you player haters gon' hate, cause I'm at the finish line.